Over the last 15 years, my sales teams have sold over $2 billion worth of home service projects. This is solar, roofing, HVAC, siding, windows, doors, hardscapes, pretty much anything that you can think of from a home service side, I've probably sold, or we have a client that sells it today. And that's all to say that, as you can imagine, we've run a lot of marketing. We've worked with a lot of marketing to sell that level of stuff. Now, I want to be clear. I don't own an ad agency. I'm not trying to sell you any ad services or things like that. My goal is to help you understand how ad agencies work and how marketing works overall so that you can make good decisions. Because today we work with contractors all over the country, and quite honestly, we spend a lot of time working with their ad agencies to help get them pointed in the right direction, to help give contractors just a look of somebody that's been in those rooms, been there, done that, knows the lingo, knows how things are supposed to work and operate. We give them a second set of eyeballs so that they don't get screwed and get ripped off. I want to make sure the same doesn't happen to you. So I'm going to break it all down for you today. So if you own a home service company, again, this could be anything that has to do with solar, roofing, HVAC, hardscapes, siding, windows, doors, electrical, painting, you're in the right place. If you spend money on ads, you're going to make sure you want to watch this. Let me start at the very top, which is, what is a marketing funnel? And if you've never had this explained to you before, you've probably heard the term a lot. I want to make sure we're all clear on what the definition is so that you understand exactly what's happening. So if we think about a funnel, it literally looks like this. Very wide at the top, kind of gets more narrow as we go on down. Very top of the funnel, we have impressions. And don't worry, you don't need to take notes. But what impressions are is it's literally money that we spend to get eyeballs on what it is that we do. This could be door knocking, door hangers, cold calling, meta ads, Facebook ads, YouTube ads, TV, radio. We have clients that do it all. They all work. They're all really good at getting impressions and eyeballs on things, all right? It's a certain amount of money you spend to get the right people to look at your stuff, okay? And obviously different ones work better. If I was giving a presentation at an HOA versus the middle of, DMV or Toys R Us, I'd probably have, a different set of group of people from one versus the other. The whole goal of spending money to get impressions is to get leads. And the whole goal of getting leads is to get appointments. These are for our sales team. And the whole reason we want to do that is so that we can make sales. And when we make sales, y'all know what we do next. We get to work. We get to go build the stuff that we told them we'd sell or build, do the things that we said we'd do to ultimately get paid. And so this is how a marketing funnel works. And what ends up happening is we get really obsessed, and we all do this, with one part of the pie. It may be sales. It may be delivery down here. And usually these are the two areas that we get most fixated with. And here's why, and it makes total sense. Most people that start a home services business, like if you start a roofing business, most people don't come out of the marketing world and work for some big ad agency and then say, I think I want to get in the roofing business. It doesn't work like that. Most people that start roofing businesses either built and installed roofs for another roofer, or they worked in sales for another roofer and decided to get into sales. And depending on your answer to those questions is going to be whether you are super sales focused or super operations focused. And so I have a sales background. Let me pick apart one that constantly I hear about, and that is close rate. Okay? Let's see if I can move this over a little bit. If you're worried, again, if you have a sales background, close rate's probably a big one. If you're down here, this could be things like change order rate. Okay, change orders. This could be things like cancel rate. It could be things like budget revisions. These are all very, very common in operator type businesses where the owner has a deep construction background and they're not even looking at sales. But here's the challenge that comes up all the time. And I'm going to put like some numbers behind this so you get an idea of how this works. Most contractors are focused way down the funnel. They're focused on the stuff that's kind of reliant on everything above them to figure out. Again, let me break it down for you. So let's say that we have 100,000 impressions. Okay? And those 100,000 impressions turn into 1,000 leads. This right here is called a conversion rate. If those 1,000 leads turn into 100 appointments, that's called a lead to appointment rate or a booking rate. And out of the 100 appointments, maybe we sell 10 jobs. Okay. In this instance, I had to literally go from 100,000 to 10. That's the math that happened in the middle. Now, what will happen all the time is a contractor will come to me and say, Steve, our close rate's terrible. It's at 10 out of 100 right now. It should be a 10% close rate, which honestly would be pretty bad, okay? I want to get that up to a 40% close rate. So we have to look at that and say, all right, if we got this up to 40%, we'll just kind of scribble that out real quick. I'd have 40 sales. That's a hell of a lot better than 10, right? We were at 10 before. But here's the thing. We got to go retrain the sales team. We got to beat up the sales team. We got to do all that stuff to get an extra 30 deals, right? That's the amount of sales that we had coming out of there. Because we were at 10, we picked up 30 more by getting our close rate up. If I had simply increased the number up here or here, the math would have been tremendously better. And the best companies start compounding these things. So let's just take this example here. Let's say instead of setting 1,000, I set, let's put it, where do I want to write this? I'll write it over here. I got 3,000. Well, even if I did nothing else, I would now set 300 appointments and I would have sold 30 jobs. If I had that same 40% close rate, it would have been 120 jobs. Okay? I can't sell 120 jobs if I only set 100 appointments. Hopefully that makes sense. In other words, we pick the hardest stuff to work on, usually in the funnel. It's where I get calls all the time. I need to fix my close rate. And we ignore everything else. Let me show you an example. Again, it happens all the time. We get calls from people and they'll say, again, I've got 100,000 impressions. I'm generating 1,000 leads. I'm sitting 100 appointments and I'm closing 50 of them. So we'll kind of label these real quick. Sales, appointments, leads, and these are eyeballs, right? Here's my eyeball. We'll get calls saying, I want to fix that number. If you're at a 50% close rate, maybe we can get you to 55. Like, you're doing pretty dang good. And so let's say I got you to 55. But to do that, we've got to tear apart the sales team. We have to find a new sales manager. We got to completely rebuild everything. But in this funnel, it's not the big gap. The big gap in this one is right here. Okay? How this funnel should work is like this. That number is okay. Again, it depends on how you spend money and where it's going. Okay? We'll make it blue here. That number is okay. 1,000 leads. Okay. There we go. 100 appointments sucks. What I'd love to see is we put a goal here to set 400 appointments. And at our same close rate of 50%, we're going to sell 200 deals. In this example, if you were getting 1,000 leads and only converting 100 appointments on them, could be a couple different things that's hurting you here. Number one is, what's our speed to lead? Okay, so speed to lead. What this is when a lead comes in, how fast do we respond to it? How quickly are we on it? Your goal is less than 1 minute. That's the standard. 1 minute, okay? The other option, if you said, hey, Steve, we got a great speed to lead. We're on it all. We pick it up. Do you actually pick up the phone? You'd be blown away how many times I see contractors that want to increase their close rate, but they only answer the phone 20% of the time when it rings. Like, if you just answered the phone half the time it rang, you would double your lead count and double your sales. Nothing else required, just literally answering the phone, okay? Much simpler to fix than trying to double your close rate. Make sense? Or trying to cut your labor in half. Just answer the phone twice as often. Again, much, much simpler, okay? So that's why we look at this stuff, all right? Another thing that you may have an issue with is we generate leads, but we don't know that they're actually good. Here's the thing. This happens again all the time. We'll have clients that will say, I found a lead company that will generate leads for $5 a piece. Today I'm spending $100 a piece or $200 a piece for leads. I think I want to try this new marketing agency out and this new angle out. And here's the problem. And I'm just going to be real. If somebody was able to generate super high quality leads for $10 each or $5 each or whatever it is, everybody would be using them. The fact that they're not is usually a pretty good sign that they're not real and legit. If I ran a Facebook ad and said, give me your email address and I'll give you a free Corvette, I'd probably get a lot of leads. Like a lot of leads would come in and I'd probably generate those leads very, very cheaply. But it doesn't mean that they're going to buy a new roof from me. And at the end of the day, if I had to choose between one lead that's $500 or you could either have two choices. You could have one lead, and let's call it at $200, but it has a 50% close rate. Or you could have 200 leads for $200 with a 0.5% close rate. Which one would you take? Many contractors today are getting bamboozled on this choice right here. But here's what ends up happening. To answer the phone 200 times, to go run 200 appointments, to get rejected 200 times, to ultimately end up with one sale. Both of these are one sale. If you gave me this option, I would take this one all day long. Oop. Because it's way less drag. It's way less stuff we have to manage in this option here to ultimately convert our one sale. Because here's the thing. Imagine you need 30 sales. Well, in this option, I need 6,000 leads. I'm sorry, 60,000 leads, right? Nope, 6,000. 6,000 leads. This one I need 60, or I'm sorry, 30. And sorry, my math's a little wrong over here. This would be, I would need 2 leads at a 50% close rate to get 1 sale. So I would need 60 leads here, 6,000 there. That makes sense? So you have to look at the whole funnel overall. When we spend money, how many leads does it generate? Are they good leads that actually convert into appointments? Do we do a good job converting them to appointments? Your company is probably going to have things that you convert better than others. For example, you may do better at web forms versus phone calls. You may do better at knocking on doors versus people showing up. You may do better at X versus than Y. Okay? You have these different things that you are going to be excellent at, and you're going to have things that you don't do so well. And asking yourself, really, what is the right funnel for us is going to be how you ultimately do the things that you want to do. Okay? So think about it as this ecosystem that exists overall. And don't get suckered picking one of these and saying, oh, I have a company that will put me in front of a whole bunch of eyeballs for a little bit of money. Doesn't matter. Could be a massive amount of, we could have a bunch of people that live in Tibet, If you don't service Tibet, it doesn't matter how many impressions you get. All right? If all those impressions don't turn into leads and appointments, what's the point? Okay? So you have to, again, take it all as an ecosystem as a whole. Now, how do you do this? Like, how do you actually, if you got this idea of a funnel and it's all making sense with you so far, terrific. How do we actually track these things as we go along so that it actually, it's something we can improve and refine on over time? There's a couple ways that you do it. So we talked about speed to lead earlier, which is going to help get your leads ultimately into appointments. We talked about conversion tracking and what's called a click-through rate and conversion rate on your ads. So when you run ads, are they converting to appointments? Are those leads turning into appointments themselves? When we make appointments, do they turn into sales? When we sell something, do we get to work and do we actually get the opportunity to install it? And it all starts how you spend your money correctly and how you do this right at scale. You don't want to guess in this. Because again, you may be running leads and ads in Tibet. It doesn't matter. You may be running ads for a free Corvette. It doesn't matter. They have to be the right things. And so how do you actually know what you're spending money on works or doesn't work? The number one tool, the best tool to use, is actually the sponsor of today's video, and it's called CallRail. How CallRail works is super, super simple. And I've been using CallRail now for over a decade, okay? They are incredible. You have the phone here. The phone is ringing. Problem is, we don't know what's causing it to ring. You may have your truck phone number. You may have, you got your meta ads. You've got your fridge magnet. You've got your Little League game. You've got the, the fundraiser. You've got Google. You've got all these things that are going on. And with each one of these, like in your Meta, for example, you may have different campaigns coming out of Meta. So you're like, that was the $2.99 promo. That was the 0 down promo. That was the free for 6 month promo. Okay? You have all these things going on. I know it's getting kind of messy on my screen here, but that's okay. And so how do you understand what the hell's actually happening? Like, what's causing the phone to ring? What's causing impressions to turn to leads and leads and appointments to turn into sales so that we can actually get to work? This is what you use CallRail for. What CallRail does is it's going to flag each one of these independently. So as they come into your system, you can see we generated this many phone calls from our Little League banner. We generated this many phone calls from our meta ad. Not just our meta ads, but from the 6 month meta ad, which performed markedly better than the 0% meta ad. Even though the impressions may be higher, we can track everything down through the entire ecosystem. So we're not guessing anymore. So that you can actually double down on the things that work. So you can get more leads, you can get more sales, you can get more appointments, you can actually see what's going on. And one of the things that we focus on with all of our clients, and it's usually I'd say when people come to us, they're upset on how their marketing is performing, but in reality, they're in an unmanageable situation because they don't have the data to support what it is that they're looking to do. You're trying to fish around flying blind. And again, like I said in the very beginning of this video, my teams have managed $100 million plus in ad spend. That's $1 million per month in ads for over a decade, like every month for over a decade. At that level, you're not guessing, you're not hoping, you're not just throwing money at the wall and the phone rings and you have no idea what's going on. A busy month for me would be 5,000 to 7,000 phone calls. You want to understand where those are coming from, so you can see what works. Some of our wildly profitable campaigns and things that we did are things that nobody would have ever assumed would have worked. But we knew they worked because we were able to track everything down to the campaign, to the call, and see exactly what was going on. So if you feel frustrated on where your money's going and you're unclear on it, you need to make sure you have CallRail. I'll put a link down below for you guys. Again, thank you CallRail for sponsoring the video. I've been working with them for over a decade. They're fantastic. When they came to me and said, hey, we'd like to work with you, I was like, you guys are incredible. Everybody should understand CallRail. I'm honestly blown away that people advertise and have the phone ring and don't use CallRail today. So anyways, check out CallRail. It's a no-brainer. You have to do it, okay? That'll give you insights and again, what's going on so you can make sure that you've got the phone ringing and doing the right thing. Once you have your data, once you understand what this cycle looks like for each lead source, okay? Each lead source. Now, you're in control. Now you understand what's going on. You can actually make good decisions. I had a client that came to us a couple months ago, and he's like, you know, Steve, I want to grow the company, but I'm stuck and I don't know what to do. And we just had this conversation about lead flow and what was going on. Their phone's ringing quite a bit, but 80% of the time they have no idea what's going on. Like literally no clue. And they'll ask the client, how did you hear about us today? You know what clients always say? I heard about you somewhere online. They don't say, I saw you on a Google pay-per-click campaign. Oh, I clicked on your Google LSA listing. I saw the Meta ad that told me to call. I saw truck 42 that drove by that was in my neighborhood in northern Los Angeles. They don't say that. They say, I saw you online, or I've seen your name everywhere. And so as a result of that, you start just advertising online and advertising everywhere, which means you're guessing on what's going on as opposed to really putting the money where it needs to be. And at some point, you can't scale that. You're gonna hit a brick wall. You're gonna realize you're stuck year after year after year after year. You're not sure what's going on. This is what's going on, okay? You don't understand the business well enough, and it's not your fault. But if you've not been in that world before and seen it and like worked in it every day, it's probably a new concept for you. So anyways, check out CallRail down below. Thank you again for sponsoring this video. By the way, if you're lost and not sure where exactly your holes are at, I put together a free 8-minute business diagnostic tool for you. It's completely free. I'll put the link down for you. Take you 8 minutes, you answer some questions, and it will tell you the areas that you're operating in blind today, so at least you understand, oh my gosh, you mean people actually track this stuff and we should look at it? Yeah, heck yeah, they do, and you should too. If you want to use the tool, I'll put the link down below for you. Until next time, I'm Steve Huber. Thanks for checking in, and I'll see y'all next time.